Pregame.com.
Wednesday night NBA action. We've got the Boston Celtics at the Philadelphia 76ers. Boy, back in our day, this was a big game, but not quite so big anymore in the NBA. Wednesday night action. I'm Marco D'Angelo. He's Steven Nover. Steven, set the line up here for you. You projected Philly come out at 5. I'm projecting 5.5, so we're pretty much in the same ballpark. Now
maybe wishful thinking on my part, since I like the 76ers in this game.
The one thing, Philadelphia, you know, they play tonight. We're taping on Monday for our audience, and so we're not going to have the outcome of that game. And then, of course, Boston ends up playing tomorrow night. I think they play Houston at home and then travel to Philly. So both teams are going to have a game before this game's played. So that can affect the line a point, you know, either direction, you know, based on those outcomes. Boston's won 4 in a row as we're taping, including that overtime thriller on Sunday. So all of a sudden it looks like maybe the Celtics have righted the ship, so to speak, on the surface. Amongst swirls of trade rumors with Rondo and everything else.
That's crazy. But you can never underestimate the stupidity of Danny Ainge. They used to be able to hold their own inside, but not anymore without Kendrick Perkins. And
they're getting old.
Yeah,
aren't we all? But they are.
Well, with Boston, Marco, their spot, and they really only have one spot left, is to be home with rest. Now, I mentioned earlier I'm going to like Philly in this matchup. Now, obviously, depending, since we're shooting on Monday, you know, I have to wait and see what happens. Just an early look as to Philly. There's going to be fatigue with both these teams, both coming on their third game in 4 days. Philly, though, off on Tuesday. Boston playing on Tuesday. So it's a back-to-back situation for the Celtics on the road. Boston 3-7. Their last 10 back-to-back situations, which I believe encompasses the whole season. 0-4, their last 4 back-to-backs. They just can't do it, especially against Philly, which is the number 1 defensive team, the number 1 team with fewest turnovers per game. And with Philly in this matchup, they can handle fatigue a lot better. I love the Philly bench. I think they have the strongest 6, 7, and 8 guys combined of any team. And in fact, let me ask you a question. Do you know who the 76ers' leading scorer is?
I do not.
I give you a hint. It's not Iguodala.
Okay.
It's Lou Williams. Now, Lou Williams is a reserve. He has not started a game all year. The last guy, this is a little trivia time, the last guy to lead his team in scoring without starting one game all season, you'd have to go back to 93-94, Stephen Curry's father, Del Curry.
Gee, you're showing your age.
Well, I can go back to 64. I don't have to go back to 94. That's.
But when you've got that says one thing for you. It tells you that you've got a balanced offense, and I would rather see a team. I mean, we've talked about it. A perfect example is like the Lakers. When Kobe scores 40, you know, it's great. You know, he makes the highlight reel.
Yeah. But
they're not as good a team.
Yeah.
You know, whenever they spread the ball around, they become a better team, and that's what makes Philly a better team.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate with this game. I actually agree with you. I lean to the Philadelphia side. I'm just a little. I put the line at 5.5, and based on Philadelphia having rest on, you know, not playing on Tuesday where Boston will. If Boston happens to lose that game against Houston on Tuesday night, you could see this line inflated a little bit more than it should be. And so that's why I'm a little bit not as excited about it as you are, but I do lean to the Philly side. Let's look at Boston first. They've won 4 in a row. If you look at those 4 games, it's not impressive. They beat Cleveland, Milwaukee, New Jersey. All right, you could put those 3 teams together and still not make a good ball club, okay? And then their 4th one was the Knicks in overtime. They had to go to the limit to beat the Knicks, and as we talked in our previous video, the Knicks are not playing as well as they were playing 2 weeks ago. So I'm not that impressed with their 4-game winning streak. But everybody's going to be quick to point out, well, heading into tonight's game for Philadelphia, they're just 2-7 straight up their last 9. That's true. But we also talked about Philadelphia earlier this year. you and me whenever we did recap of the first half of the season. Philadelphia is a team that started out good. They played a soft early schedule. Once they got into the meat of the schedule and started playing good teams, all of a sudden we started to see that Philly's not as good as we thought they were. And looking at that, that 2-7 stretch, those 7 losses, listen to some of the teams in there. Orlando, Dallas, Memphis, Oklahoma City, and Chicago. Yeah. Those are all playoff teams.
Yeah.
So now you're going to say, well, Boston's going to be a playoff team. Yeah, Boston's going to be a playoff team, but Boston's going to be a playoff team. It's probably going to be one and done. Yeah. Philadelphia, I think, is making a step down in class here to play Boston. So given the current form, I think Boston, the market's a little bit overrated on them right now. In Philadelphia, I think they're flying under the radar.
I thought you were going to play devil's advocate. You're helping me make the case for the Sixers, but that's all right. You can be on my side. No, I just think a lot of these NBA teams have patterns to them. 76ers, an obvious pattern to them. At home, very strong against weaker competition, have failed to step up against the elite teams. Is Boston an elite team? No, they're not.
They're not bottom of the barrel either.
No.
They're in the middle.
Right, but they haven't done very well on the road, and so the 76ers are a little easier to figure out than some of these other teams with their home pattern. Plus with Boston, sure, they'd love to win this game. It's a big game for them, but this is their scenario. After this game, they host Portland on Friday. That is a must-win for Boston because after that, they go on an 8-game road trip, starting with 4 on the West Coast. The 5th game on that road trip is in Denver, in high altitude after 4 games on the West Coast. They're going to get killed. Their season they may not make the playoffs if they don't survive that 8-game road trip. So, yeah, it'd be great if they could beat the 76ers, but they need to beat Portland at home on Friday.
When they come back from that road trip, is Rondo still on this team?
As an old Celtic fan from the days of Bill Russell, he better still be on that team because he's their best player. He's the key to the team. That's great point guards? They're so easy to come up with. Who would you get for Rondo? What kind of equal value could you possibly get for Rondo? I hope it's not what they thought they were getting for Kendrick Perkins. I'm still, as a Celtic fan, I'm still mad about that. They lost their inside toughness with that. It's another negative to why they're not an elite team. I mean, it's Danny Ainge, just tell him to stop tinkering.
Sometimes you can't help yourself, and the rumors are out there, so we'll see. And I think it's a distraction to the team. I mean, anytime early in the year you saw what that did with Orlando. When every day, Dwight Howard, I want to be traded. It becomes a distraction. But if anything, Sunday maybe Rondo sealed his own fate by saying, "You guys want to really trade me? Seriously? Triple double?
Those are Oscar Robertson numbers. That's amazing. I got to throw in these 1964 references.
You are showing your age. All right. There you have it. Steven's going with. What are you projecting them to win this by?
Well, if I like Philly, I got to figure they're going to hold the Celtics down, maybe like a 92 to 83 type of game.
All right. My numbers have Philly by 8, so I agree with you, sir. I'll give you an assist.
Okay.
This is your
Thanks,
play.
Mr. Rondo.
Hey, dish it out. A little pick and roll here.
Sounds good.
He's Steven Nover. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Hey, check out pregame.tv all week long. We're going to be posting videos this week. Schedule might be a little bit mixed up this week because it's a crazy week. Why? It's March Madness. We've got conference tournaments this week, games every day. It's kind of hard to do a lot of the college games this week with the videos because we're taping a day or two in advance. And, well, if we can figure out a day or two in advance who's going to advance and be the matchups, we'd be doing very well. So it's going to make it tough, but at least once we get back to next week, we'll be able to project these games because they play 2 days apart. So everything will be back to normal next week. He's Steven Nover. I'm Marco D'Angelo. I'll be back midweek with Scott Spreitzer, and of course Vegas Runner and Brian Leonard will be in the studios too later in the week. You'll find it all at pregame.tv. Thanks for watching.